to meet you. Come on, man. Who needs a haircut? Who's got a lot of hair? Who wants to do something? Just keep doing it, boys. Do you want a haircut? Yep. No, he's very shy, can't you tell? When I was in Russia with Patch Adams, I'll never forget, he gave a speech when we were in St. Petersburg, and what he was saying was, he goes, I want you to know that every single one of you is diagnostically great. He said, you've got to get to work, get onto it. Now what I want to tell you a little bit about my journey is that I've lived an inspired life. I dreamed I was teaching peace in 1998, and I've been very open to the signs on this journey. Now, I moved from Canberra to Melbourne when I had this dream. And I lived only 5 minutes from La Trobe University. And I decided I might just go down to La Trobe and just see what's happening. I found out they had peace studies at La Trobe. It was one of the few peace studies courses in Australia. We don't put a lot of money into peace. Many people have a lot of different visions of what peace really is. But in that particular course, we were looking at mediation. We were looking at Gandhi's work. Of course, in everything that I do, to be the change you wish to see in the world is what I absolutely focus on. And what I would say to each and every one of you is to be yourself and to step out of the comfort zone, dare to be different, dare to be a little bit spontaneous, you know. What Patch Adams taught me in Russia, and the 40 clowns that we went clowning with, who were mostly lay people actually, most of them were not professional clowns, but they dressed up as clowns, and we went to orphanages, we went to nursing homes, we went on the street, and we went on trains. And we met all the people, because when you're a clown you can interact with everyone. I think I've probably interacted with probably 20,000, 30,000 people in my life, shaking hands and waving, all that sort of thing. And what I've found is that I agree with Patch Adams. I think everybody is great. When you move through different countries, like I have, I went to 20 countries. I went to places, well, I was in Bangkok when I studied on the Peace and Conflict Studies program through Rotary, and that was an extremely fascinating experience because I was with a lot of scholars. I was also included in that description as scholar, but I was the only clown. And I was probably the first clown that Rotary International has ever inducted, as I will be tonight with Golden Key. And I was very happy about this because it's very different. Most people don't see clowns in this way. They think, oh, well, they're just fun people, you know, go and do silly things. But in actual fact, the world of the clown is the most amazing world you can ever step into. I remember one day in Melbourne, on the International Day of Peace, I decided to go for a walk down the street. Oh, darling, sorry, I get distracted every now and then. I might do that from time to time. I remember walking down the street, just normally dressed, and I started to observe everyone. And they're all looking at their phones. And for me, it felt very much like it was black and white. But then I went into an office, I got changed into my clown gear, and then I went into the lift and created a riot in there. I said, oh, you know, come into my lift, everybody. And we started hugging and all that sort of thing. Then I went out on the street, and I started to connect with everyone. And I met all the foreigners, I met, you know, all the Australians walking through the crowd. People I would never, ever meet, I met that day. And the way I described it later was that it was like stepping from black and white into colour. Because when you're a clown, people treat you differently. Obviously, everybody's very open and willing to say hello to you, they'll talk to you. Whereas if you're dressed normally, they won't. You know how we all walk past each other every day. But what I've come to see is that there are no strangers in this world, for me, none. Everyone is a friend, every single one. And I've sat on the street with people who are homeless, alcoholics, had a chat with them. When I was travelling around the world, when I went to Bangkok, I went onto the MRT railway, and I blew up a balloon. You can do a few things with balloons. I should show you some of my props, shouldn't I, whilst I'm at it? Yeah, I just went up on the railway and I started to interact with people, and you can do it through, balloons. Sometimes what I do is just sorry, my sense of humour. It's a lot hot air in Darling. And sometimes you get the sound or you can vote more. And it takes off. But what it does is it gets people to connect with one another, to distract them from the routine and the rut that we all get trapped into when we live in a modern society. I don't know how many countries I've been to where I've been on the trains and everybody ignores everybody, and we all know it. Certainly down in Melbourne on the trams, people don't talk to one another. And I often think of the potential of the people you could meet just by opening up a conversation. And I totally understand why people choose not to do that, because people feel afraid. And they're not used to it either. But when you're a clown, you do it all the time. When I travelled the world, I went to places like Bangkok, I went to India, and I remember clowning. Actually, I did some clowning without my clown gear as well. I just dressed normally. And I remember juggling in an IT city in New Delhi. And before I knew it, all these men came around me, and it was hilarious. These little children were in the crowd, and these were the kids that were the street children. And people sort of threw money at them. They had big stomachs because they were hungry. But I remember when I was juggling in there, the men started smiling at the children, and they started to see them as children, not beggars. So I saw that there was something shifted. Another time I did that without a clown suit was also in Egypt. I went to Alexandria, and I was on a railway platform. And what I did was I just leaned up against a bin. Let's get out my juggling balls. I should show you my props while I'm here. Just get out my juggling balls and started juggling. So I was leaning on the bin, and I was just juggling. Curious to see what people would do, because I was a white woman, blonde hair. I looked very well dressed, and I just started to juggle. And before I knew it again, same situation as India, all these people came around me. And they were amazed, at what I was doing. And I have clubs as well, so I pulled them out and started juggling the clubs. And the women were behind the men, but nonetheless, this was revolutionary for those women to see a woman juggling on a railway platform. And to my amazement, the police came and they broke it up, because it was illegal in Egypt at that time to gather people together, I found out. And this was during the time of Mubarak. So I got to see through the eyes of, this sort of clowning activity that people were very repressed in that country. I would never have seen that if I'd been a tourist and had chosen to stay within my comfort zone and not do something different. So again, going back to my world trip, I went to India, I went to Egypt, I went to Greece, I travelled up to the United Kingdom, and I also travelled on the underground railway, and I started hugging some people. But I might just start on the presentation that I've got here, which will give you some insights into the world trip. Shall we put that on?